All right, let's move on with some more recordings of Beethoven's music. Before we do, you might be wondering about my setup here. I've got my laptop. I'm actually using YouTube as my sort of music library. I also have a separate music library and a pretty big vinyl collection. And as I mentioned, maybe we'll bring some of that stuff out as well. And trying to be able to listen in a little bit, remind myself of some of the qualities of the music as I talk to you about it. So we're going to move on with the next category, which is concertos. We've got 3 recordings lined up here, and the first is by a wonderful pianist who's not that well known in the US. He undertook this whole set of recordings of the Beethoven piano concertos not too long ago. So this is one of the newer recordings of the Beethoven piano concertos. His name is Leif Ove Ansnes, and he's someone I'd love to work with. Maybe we could bring him here to WCF Symphony one day. Just such a wonderful, insightful, and elegant manner of playing. And he also has a really nice feel for Beethoven. In fact, I thought his style was a good match for the 4th piano concerto. That's a piece I find to be a little bit more lyrical than the 2 concertos that surround it, the 3rd and the 5th. And it really is a wonderful performance that he gives of this really big, complex first movement of the 4th piano concerto. And then we move on to probably the most well-known Beethoven pianist of current day, and that is Richard Good. He is sort of legendary for his complete recordings of the Beethoven sonatas. We might get a chance to hear one of those later. But I thought I'd include his recording of the slow movement of the Emperor Concerto. We heard this performed on our Live from the Archive series featuring our guest artist, Allison Lee. She did a wonderful job. And Richard Good also turns this amazing sort of just suspended movement into such a beautiful reverie. I think he has a unique ability to capture Beethoven's sensibility in more of kind of the traditional mode. He doesn't play on period instruments or on a forte piano, but he really has a wonderful feel for the composer. And this is a great recording that's done with the Budapest Festival Orchestra, which is one of my favorite orchestras in the world. And then we'll wrap up with a recording of the first movement of Beethoven's Violin Concerto, another huge movement, and it's really one of the most challenging movements in the concerto repertoire. I've done it a couple of times, and I've always loved it, but it has a reputation for being quite difficult to put together and to really sustain the energy needed in an expanse of music as large as this movement. And this recording, featuring the violinist Isabel Faust with Orchestra Mozart and the conductor Claudio Abbado, is really fabulous. It's got a certain kind of transparency that this soloist and the orchestra are known for, but also just a wonderful touch and a lushness where needed. I just have really responded to this. I think it's, in my estimation, the finest recording I've heard of the Beethoven Violin Concerto, and I hope you like it as well. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with some more recommendations.